This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Tim Dashwood is a director, a DP, an editor, and a stereographer with over 20 years' experience in the industry. He's also the founder of Dashwood Cinema Solutions, and now Tim has a new technology that he wants to talk about. Hello, Tim. Welcome.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Mike and I are doing great.
Yeah, Horton's here.
Tim, I was just thinking, you've been a director, a DP, and an editor. What got you interested in developing software, which is an entirely different mindset?
Necessity. That's it. I mean, I wasn't trained in software development at all. I went to film school, right? It really started. Here I was, 3D stuff, and the software just didn't exist for what I needed to do. So I taught myself how to program plugins. That was it.
Well, shifting gears now, you're a well-established developer. I mean, your Cinema Tools has got all kinds of toolkits that editors can use. And one thing I've noticed about you is that you tend to follow new technology, especially as it relates to video. Stereoscopic 3D comes first to mind, but stereoscopic 3D is kind of like last year's technology. What new techniques are you watching now?
Well, I kind of feel that stereo has just progressed, and that's how it happened for me. It was very natural. So I was working in 3D. I've been working in 3D for a really long time, and just kind of moved into virtual reality, more or less what we call cinematic 360. So this is spherical video, where we'll shoot a complete 360, look up, look down, a complete sphere. And we needed tools to be able to actually edit this stuff. And so that's why I started programming these tools this time.
Well, let me get a definition before we get too carried away, because I want to explore this 360 a bit more. But what's the difference between virtual reality, augmented reality, and 360-degree video?
That's a great question. Okay, so virtual reality is pretty much anything that is a virtual reality. So like a video game, for example. What we usually, when we say VR, we usually mean an immersive experience where you have a headset, like I have an Oculus Rift here, right? So you'd be wearing this and you'd be looking around. But in a video game, which is a complete virtual reality, you can walk around. You are seeing computer-generated images in real time. So it takes a lot of processing power, obviously. In augmented reality, you would have, for example, a video camera on the front of the headset. So you'd be seeing the real world with something augmenting that real world image. So wherever you look, it would be like a heads-up display. So if you think of, the Terminator's point of view in the Terminator movie, right? That would be augmented reality, where he sees all that heads-up display stuff. And then cinematic 360 is obviously real world video. It's spherical, but as it is right now, the viewer can't control where he goes. The director of the content is the one who decides where the camera placement is. So it's kind of like playing a video game, but only being able to control the head of your character. And that's the basic difference between the three.
Tim, I'm looking at you, and in the background, you look like you're in a motion capture studio.
Oh, yeah. We have a late night session going on. I should show you guys what's going on. So we do a lot of like video game type stuff. Actually, we can see. Yeah. I don't know. Can you guys see that screen there?
We can.
Loud and clear.
Okay. So you can see that the two guys here, we're working on a video game tonight. So they're just motion capturing one particular move. And so for a video game project, when we have a client come in, generally we'll build a library of moves. And those are the moves that the character does. And so the team that I work with here, they're one of the leading fight and stunt coordinating teams. And we're up in Toronto. So basically anything that comes through Toronto, whether it's feature film, that needs virtual stuntmen or real stunts, or video games that are done up here, chances are we've had our hands in it. We're the only commercial mocap studio in Toronto.
Seriously, that's really?
Yeah. So, and we also specialize in Hong Kong wire work. So these guys are working on a move right now, which is involving a wire. So they'll do like a slight fight move, and then someone's going to get pulled on the wire. We also have this, like a zip line here as well. I don't know if you can.
We can see it.
We can
yes,
see
we
it.
can.
Yeah. So our volume here, we have 20 feet by 30 feet by 16 feet high. So it's not the hugest mocap volume in the world, but it's pretty good for doing fight action. And that's primarily what we do. So yeah, this is just kind of a typical day here. I've also converted this studio into a virtual holodeck. So, we've done it, which is a lot of fun. So we've done demonstrations where we've actually had high school physics teachers come in on their professional development days. And so they're the greatest to work with because for the holodeck, I loaded up the bridge of the Enterprise. So they're all Star Trek fans, right?
How fun.
Yeah, so I'll set a chair in the center of the room, and they won't necessarily know what the model is that we have loaded. And then they'll put the headset on, and then we'll turn on the simulation, and suddenly they're sitting in the captain's chair. But then, because this is a room-based virtual reality, they can stand up and walk around the volume in the room, and all of our cameras, we have 20 motion capture cameras,
Wow.
which basically they just transmit infrared light, and they get a reflection from these little balls. Everyone's seen the little balls, right? The little reflective balls. So it's much better tracking, in an Oculus Rift. Like we wouldn't even use this for our room-sized virtual reality. We use different headsets because all we need to do is put markers on the head-mounted display, and we know exactly where the person is in 3D space and where they're looking.
Just curious about the motion capture cameras. Are they GoPros? Are they DSLRs? Or what are they?
Oh, no, they're completely proprietary.
Oh, they are.
So, yeah, we have two systems. This is an OptiTrack system, which is actually our new one. Our old system is by a company called Vicon. They both basically work the same way, but our Vicon system, we had a big flood and lost half the cameras in the flood, so it's now our small movement. So if we want to do facial capture, then it's basically set up like in a small array. And so we can just have an actor sitting there and do the small work. So they're working on this move now. So the fight coordinator is, you can see on the wires there. I just thought it'd be more interesting to do the interview here instead of my office with whiteboards and mathematical equations.
Well, I just want you to know that nobody's paying any attention to you. We're all watching the guys
just watching
behind.
the background. It's so much
Right.
fun.
Tim,
Yeah,
I have a question, though, because you're a director. So put your director's hat on for a second.
Sure.
One of the challenges that we have as directors in storytelling is that we want to direct the attention of the audience, or more importantly, many times we want to misdirect the attention of the audience, especially in mysteries where they think they're seeing, but they're not really seeing. That seems to be impossible in a 360 video environment because there's no direction. And you would argue it's like theater in the round, but even theater in the round, the audience is in the round, the actors are not in the round. So how do we storytell in a 360 video environment?
In all honesty, we're still learning how to do that. This point that we are, 2015 or 2016 now, it's like we're right at the beginning of the filmmaking process that's going to happen. And I feel like we're not there yet. We've seen some interesting stuff, but most of it is stationary camera, which gets really boring really quickly. And so we can put a stationary camera, the director can tell the actors what he wants them to do, and it's kind of like where we go hide somewhere. We can't even really do proper lighting. We have to hide all the lights and everything. And you just hope for the best. The type of VR that I like to work in is where we're actually starting to move the camera, create something dynamic. And for example, how do we do close-ups? We don't have different focal lengths of lenses even, because our field of view is always 360 degrees. Plus, we never know where someone is going to be looking. So we could have some action over there and hoping that they're looking over there, but they're actually looking over there.
Have you seen a story? Have you seen a film that has been done in VR that you would say, hey, watch this. This is the one that we want to emulate? Or, I mean, because all I've seen out there is stuff that's not that good.
Yeah. So I've seen some interesting things. Most of them are short subjects. You have directors like Doug Liman who are working on a series. I have no idea what that series is about.
Right.
But I'm really curious. And
they're using your plugin.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
they are.
A lot of people are using our plugin. We were the first ones to, do this stuff. Like I say, I write this stuff for myself, and then we decide, well, we might as well release it, right? But I don't know. Back to your question, what I really like to tell people is there's some music videos that Verse out of New York did. There was one for U2, but the one for Muse, I really, really like. I think they did just a fantastic job on it.
Say that again. How do you spell that?
Muse, M-U-S-E.
Oh, M-U-S-E.
So,
okay.
Yeah, the company Verse is V-R-S-E.
Okay.
And I believe they did those for Apple Music. I think it was a promotion with Apple Music. And man, they just did a really great job. And the thing is that the VR that I like is stereoscopic VR. And a lot of people are, at the moment, just shooting monoscopic VR, which is really just 6 cameras pointing the 6 different directions. You stitch them all together. It's much more complicated to do stereoscopic 3D, but that's what I've always concentrated on. And like I say, it was a natural transition into this from stereo 3D.
Okay, but you said something that caught my attention. You said that you've created some plugins for 360 video. Why do we need plugins? What problems are we fixing?
Okay, so once we stitch all of the outputs from the cameras together, we get what's called an equirectangular projection. And, this has been around for hundreds of years. The cartographers figured this out when they needed to make a map of the world that would lay flat. So if you look at the map of the world, the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole and Antarctica, looks gigantic, looks huge, stretches basically through the whole projection. And that's the equirectangular projection. So that actually is what you're looking at when you are editing video. It looks okay in the center, but as you approach the poles, it's all stretched out. Someone could be standing there and their legs start really doing this. So it's very difficult to edit that stuff together and know what the end product is going to look like. So for me, I was working on this stuff and it was very trial and error. So we'd have to edit it together. I'd have to export it. And we all know as video editors, that takes time. And then we'd have to look at it in a viewer. And, that's why I just got frustrated one day and I said, there has to be another solution. And so we built, it's an app and a plugin that takes the output from Premiere Pro, After Effects, or Final Cut Pro. And then we send it directly to the Rift in real time, and it's running at 60 frames per second. There's 0 latency. So when a cut happens on your timeline, it happens in the headset. So it's extremely important. But then we also have tools. Let's say you want to rotate the whole sphere to match up an actor who's in one position. So let's say he's at 0 degrees and someone else is at 45 degrees in the next shot, and you want to do a cross dissolve between those 2 actors. Well, I have tools that can do that. So you want to add blur. You can't add a normal Final Cut Pro filter that you just throw on there. I had to design special filters that affect the poles and don't create a seam where it wraps around on the sphere. So it just goes on and on. If you want to place a logo, I had to create a new virtual camera system that basically does slit scanning. So it takes a little tiny slit at every degree of rotation, but it's actually even more than that. If you have a 4K file, it takes 4,096 little slits per eye.
Wow.
Per frame. So you can imagine that's, it's pretty heavy duty on the GPU, but this is working in After Effects. Works beautifully in Final Cut Pro.
Do you have a favorite camera? There's several cameras out there. There's a high-end camera such as Nokia, which has the Uzo, and then there's the Jaunt, which has 24 cameras.
Yes. So those types of cameras are working in stereoscopic 3D, but instead of pairing up cameras, like typically you'd see GoPros where you'd have 12 cameras, which are basically 6 pairs pointing in the 6 different directions. What these cameras do is they're essentially volumetric. So they're taking a whole lot of images, and in post-production software, their own proprietary software, they're running an algorithm to figure out the depth, where everything is. And then they're producing the left eye and right eye that you work with at that point. So those are very expensive systems. They're proprietary.
Right.
The Nokia, I guess you'll be able to buy, but I think it's $60,000.
But you can't rent it.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
it might be.
Well, somebody's going to rent it.
Yeah, Jaunt is a production company
Right.
that services. Well, they service other production companies, so you can rent their camera. And Google also has their rigs. I think the Odyssey, and it's 16 GoPro cameras in a ring. So I don't think they're shooting the Zenith and the Nadir, but they are doing a full panoramic. So, there's some stunts going on back there.
I know. We could watch this all day.
Tim, for people that need more information on 360 video and your plugins, where can they go on the web to learn more? Because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, our website is dashwood3d.com, and it's pretty easy to find the plugins there. Of course, we still have our Stereo 3D plugins. We have my Editor Essential plugins. Everything is there. And yeah, that's the best place to go, really. I am starting to do more blogging on there, so there should be more videos.
And Tim will be at the
things.
VR pavilion at NAB, and
Very cool.
so you can actually talk to Tim in person.
And Tim
And
Dashwood,
Supermeet.
Tim
And
Dashwood,
Supermeet.
Tim Dashwood is the founder of Dashwood Cinema Solutions. His website is Dashwood 3D. Tim, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry. and
Thanks,
Mike.
Tim.
To come on The Buzz.
Good night.
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from The Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching The Digital Production Buzz.